Welcome everybody to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning we're talking about mental health and suicide prevention. Did you realize that every 11 minutes somebody somewhere dies by suicide? Suicide is preventable when we know how, when we understand, and when we start to say, it's okay not to be okay. Our guest this morning is Andy Dixon. He's one of the founders of Save Sinlaw, and he joins us not only to talk about suicide, mental health, and prevention, but the 5K run that is happening this Saturday. Stay with us. We're back with those conversations right after this. Welcome everybody to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning we're talking about mental health awareness and how one group has been on the front lines of raising awareness about mental health issues and really training the communities in central Louisiana and surrounding areas on how to deal with those people who may be having suicidal ideation. Our guest this morning is Andy Dixon. He's one of the co-founders of Save Sinlaw, and he joins us to talk about their continued work, but more importantly, the upcoming 5th annual Into the Light race to continue to raise awareness. Andy, good morning and welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Andy is no stranger, he and his wife, Angie, to our show and to our support of helping to bring light to suicide and to make the conversation easier. And, you know, I've said this many times when I first started having the conversations about suicide. I looked into the camera and I said, this is not going to be an easy conversation. But as I've gotten educated, taken the assist course training that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show, I'm understanding now that it should not be a hard conversation.
No, it shouldn't. Mental health, everybody's scared of it because nobody wants to talk about it. But once you start talking about it, it's just like heart health, lung health, any health. Mm-hmm. It's very important. I mean, our brain is our supercomputer that runs our bodies, mm-hmm. and it can get sick just like everything else.
Absolutely. And one of the things that people know, and you all have made very, you've been very open about your son, Adam,
Yes, ma'am.
Taking his life by suicide. So when this happened, after you get your bearings, because I don't guess you ever get over the loss
No.
of a child, but once you get your bearings, it becomes your mission to shed the light.
Yeah. Well, God kind of made it our mission.
Mm-hmm.
He 100% drew us into this. But we do not want another family to suffer the way we are suffering now. And the sad part is, Adam, the signs were there, and we missed it. And that is what we're trying so hard to stop, to help get people to see the signs when they're there, to be able to see that mental health illness. Mm-hmm. Your husband, if your husband was to grab his heart,
right,
you would know he's having a heart attack. But mental illness it's not that easy, and you got to know the little signs, the mm-hmm. little changes in that person that you love, mm-hmm. or when your gut tells you that what they said wasn't quite right, or what they just did is not their normal self. That something's a little different. What we teach helps you to be able to see those little things and what they could mean, mm-hmm. and then how to ask that question.
And so Adam was 17 when he died, and I think, and I've said this many times, when it comes to adolescents and teens, the water gets really murky because we're so apt to say that it's just those teenage years,
That's
it's
right.
those rough years, and we don't really, I think as parents, we don't have enough information to know the difference.
Absolutely, and actually I did say that. Adam started having these changes, anger outbursts, and changes in his eating habits, sleeping habits, saying some things to us And I was thinking, oh, he's just a teenager. You know, he's checking his boundaries. He wants to become, you know, he's trying to become a man. It's puberty, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
That's exactly what I thought it was. He's trying to grow up too fast is what I like to say.
And so I guess for people that could be experiencing the same thing, it's a matter of knowing when to bring in professional help. But if you come from a culture where you've never brought in professional help, then you're sort of just vacillating on, you know, what to do and how to do it.
How to do it, because we had no idea. Even we didn't know Adam. We didn't realize Adam needed some professional help. But after he died, we probably needed some help. I know we did. You know, to understand what happened, and we had no idea where to get it. We didn't reach out for any help because we didn't think it was out there. We were just kind of left struggling in the water ourselves. You know, people were just waiting for us to get over it. And
waiting for you to get over it.
Yeah, you know, everybody's scared to make you cry.
Right.
You know, they don't want to bring up Adam's name because they don't realize we're always thinking about Adam. All the time. Same as all my kids. I'm always worried about all of them.
Right.
But mental health is just, I don't know why society just refuses to want to talk about mental health. So
after Adam's death and you go through the grief and the pain, is there a point where you all look at each other and say, we need help? We need professional help to just deal with what has happened and to try to walk back why this happened?
Angie and I, we never sought the professional help. Now, the kids, oh yeah, we brought them to the counselor so they can talk to them, make sure they were okay.
But not for yourself?
Not for myself, but we started talking about it a lot. And we didn't bottle it up. We talked about it. We just never sought that professional help, you know. And I'm not going to speak for Angie, but I probably definitely needed it.
Really? In hindsight, Andy, why didn't you think? Now, you got it for the kids.
Got it for the kids.
And see, this is what happens. There's a disconnect. They need it, but we're going to be okay.
I don't want people to look at me as weak or selfish or looking for attention. I didn't want people to think of me differently, you know. You got to be the strong one, you know, and so I never sought it for myself until I got to a point where depression, suicide almost got me. I can't believe I'm saying this on TV, but people need to know.
Sure.
It happens.
Right.
And it happened to me. And then I started talking about it a lot more. And I started talking with Angie, and I started talking to some pastors, some priests. And so I guess I really did seek kind of professional help, the pastors and the priests.
Sure.
But talking about it, everybody thinks they were like me. They don't want to tell their friends. Your mind tells you, "Oh, I got all these best friends but I can't tell them this." They're gonna think I'm weak. They're gonna think they're not going to hang out anymore because they're gonna be scared to be around me.
Right.
And it's not true. That's your mind telling you that. I mean, all these men that I got that I can go to, I know I can go to. It's hard to tell them, you know, and you're scared to tell them that. But then when somebody suicides, everybody says, well, why didn't they come to me?
Right.
Why didn't they come to me? I was just a phone call away. But it's because your mind is just stopping you from wanting to reach out. Society has told us we don't talk about it.
Right.
You know.
And if we talk about it, do we think we're going to manifest it? Do we think it's going to happen because we talk about it?
Everybody thinks that if you talk about mental health, if you talk about suicide, you're going to plant that seed in somebody's mind, and that's not going to happen. That suicide does not work like that. It's okay to talk about it. I could talk to you about heart disease all day long, and it's not going to give you heart disease, right?
No.
So you can talk about mental health, and it's not going to plant that seed in their mind. I don't know, everybody should be shouting that from the rooftops.
Right.
You know, you can talk to them about mental health.
Absolutely. And that's why we're going to continue to have these conversations all year long, just like with breast cancer. You know, October is the premier month, but what we know is that what's happening in the mind, it's not relegated to a certain time of the year. And so we've got to continue having the conversation. We're going to take a break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the assist training and what every family, every profession needs to know about how to deal with somebody that is contemplating suicide. Would we know what to do if and when it happened? Stay with us. We're back with that right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. Our guest this morning is Andy Dixon. He's one of the co-founders of Save Sin-Law. And Save Sin-Law, really, its mission has been to shed the light on mental illness and help the communities that we live in and that they serve to understand suicidal ideation, but more importantly, if you're ever faced with it, to know what to do. And one of the things that we talked about was training law enforcement. And you were talking about a group were voluntold that they needed to come. And for people who are in certain fields, there are CEUs where you can get continuing credit hours for taking the course. But you train a lot of police officers, a lot of, law enforcement.
The two grants we have, Central Louisiana Human Services District and the Christus Community Impact Fund, has allowed us to really work very closely with a lot of law enforcement, a lot of sheriff's departments. So those guys and gals come to the workshop because they're voluntold to come. Some of them,
sure.
I mean, they're coming for their jobs. They're thinking this is going to be for my job. But a lot of them leave out knowing that it's not only for my jobs, it's for my personal lives too. And in fact, we were talking earlier, one workshop we did, 3 law enforcement officers left out after the first day and went home and they did interventions on their kids. That was 3 of them.
Wow.
Actually,
3 separate people.
3 separate people in the same workshop that actually went home, saw it after, during the day, what we were talking about. They quit thinking about their jobs, they started thinking about their families.
Right.
And they could see it and they went home and they did interventions. That was 3 of them. That's just one workshop.
And so when they come back and they share that with you, how does that make you feel?
It's amazing knowing that what we just did, and it really wasn't me, it's all the man upstairs.
Sure.
Help somebody to see that so they don't lose their child or their wife, or their loved one. Because we talk a lot about kids, but it's not just kids. It could be anybody, from 4 years old to 90, however old you can get.
And I asked Angie this question, and your wife, and I wondered too, for you, being that Adam died at 17, and this has really become your ministry, your life's work. Does it help when you help others to maybe avert suicide, or does it still dig in you to say, if only we would have known?
Both. I mean, it's good when you're doing an intervention, or when I'm doing an intervention, and I'm using these skills that we teach, and you see that little spark of life come back into that person. It feels very good knowing that you are a part of helping them find their reason for living. Or when somebody tells you that they've used it to help somebody, that's great. But then there's also a part of me that says, why didn't I do that for Adam? Why didn't I see it? Why couldn't I have been there for him? And if I would have had these skills, if I would have taken this workshop, Adam would still be alive. There's no doubt in my mind. Because I would have saw it. I would have known what to do with it and how to help him stay alive.
Right. And so tell us about the assist workshops, because you said it and I said it too. Basically, you don't think that it'll ever come to your doorstep. It won't come to your dwelling. And most people are just not going to take the time to take a 2-day workshop. And I was one of those people. Until one day I asked Angie, I said, how else can we help you other than talking about it? You know, I'm like, okay, can we write a check? You know, what can we do to help? We'll do anything. She said, the best thing that you can do is take the workshop.
Absolutely.
And I was like, 2 days, I just can't take off work. I can't do it. And then something in me just said, okay, I'll do it. And I'm going to tell you, it was life changing. And it's not just about talking about suicide for those 2 days. It's far deeper than that.
Absolutely. It shows you, first of all, the model that we teach can be used for many different things, not just suicide. It'll help you talk to people differently, help you to, you know, one guy that took the workshop said, oh man, this is going to help me in my marriage. I'm going to talk to my wife differently.
Right.
And one mom said, you know, her daughter was like 6, I think she was 16. She said, you know, I've never really listened to my daughter. I've talked at her, but I've never listened. And after day one, on her way home, she called her daughter, and she let her daughter talk. She said her daughter talked for a couple of hours, just talking. She said that was the first time I had ever really just listened to my daughter, and she learned a lot.
And I think for most parents, we're telling our kids what we think, what we think that they need, what we think they should be doing. And we're fixers. Absolutely. And Angie talks about that all the time, that when things were going on with Adam and any of our kids, the first thing we do is we dive in to fix it.
Yeah. And most people that are thinking about suicide, they don't need you to fix it. All they really need you to do is just listen to them. They need somebody to hear them, to see them, where they are. And they just need that listening ear. It sounds so easy, but it's so hard for us to do, to just listen. Because Adam, he came to me the Christmas before he died, 6 months before he died. It's the day after Christmas. We're getting ready to go camping. And he tells me, Daddy, I know you think everything's all right, but it's not.
Just like that? Just
like that. He came around the camper, just out of the blue, told me. And I immediately thought it was about a girl. And I went to fixing it. Right? I talked about this girl, because I knew he had just...
So you just immediately went to the girl?
Immediately went to the girl. And he listened, and he went along, and then when we were done, he walked away, and I felt good. I thought I had fixed it. And he didn't tell me anything else. So I thought we were good. But, and there were many times from that point till the day that he took his life that he tried to tell me things like that, and I would jump in and fix instead of listening.
Do you think we're afraid to hear? Is that why we as parents just jump right into fix mode?
I would have, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when you think about it now, and you think about all of, you know, those pivotal moments where he's trying to say something, and we don't, like the mom with the 16-year-old, we don't listen. Do you think we're maybe afraid to hear?
I don't know what it is. You know, we want our kids to feel better. We want them, you know, they got to be happy, they got to be good. And we don't want to listen. Why don't we want to hear about their mental health?
Right. And for most of us, I don't think we immediately think this could be a mental health issue. You know, because when you look at, I think we're a society now that give our kids more than we ever have.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure that they don't feel left out. We want to make sure that they feel equal to their peers in all of the material things and all of the things that they do. We want them to feel like they're seen and heard by their peers. And we go out of our way to make sure that that happens. And we forget because we feel like, what do you have to be depressed about?
That's right.
What do you have to be depressed about?
And that's not really depression, you know.
Right.
That's not what depression is. I don't think Adam knew why he was feeling like that. We think now that he probably was depressed for most of his life. He probably thought it was normal.
Right.
You know,
because it was his normal.
It was his normal, and he didn't know why. Because I asked him, you know, when he started sneaking out the window and getting in arguments with us and everything that was going on, I took him on the road with me for a few weeks. And I asked him, I said, Adam, why are you acting like this? Why are you doing this? And he told me, he said, Daddy, I don't know. And it was just as honest as he could be. And I totally, 100% believed him. And he said, but I'm not going to act like that anymore. So I said, well, that's in the past. Let's move forward. Mm-hmm. And he believed it. And then a few weeks later, when I dropped him back off, he started going back out the window. You know, it's
right.
But I really do not know. I really do not think he knew why he was doing the things he was doing. And I wasn't listening. I wasn't ever trying to go down to the root problem. I just wanted to fix it. Put a Band-Aid on it,
Mm-hmm.
fix it, and move on.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
It didn't work. We're going to take a break here, but when we come back, we're going to tell you how you can get involved with the 5th annual Into the Light run, walk. It's really a fellowship of the community coming out and getting a better insight on what mental health and wellness looks like. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning, we're joined by Andy Dixon. He's one of the co-founders of Save Sin-Law, and Save Sin-Law is really gaining traction throughout our state as a pillar, Andy, for mental health awareness and helping people understand when a person may be thinking of taking their lives. And you all have been doing the assist workshops for how long now? Has it been over 5 years?
Right at 5 years, I believe. Yes.
Right at 5 years. And I think that for me, before I became assist trained, I always thought that we start to tell people what they had to live for and how much God loves them and how their life has meaning. But in that critical moment, that's not what we're saying.
Of course we want to tell them.
Those things are real and true.
Those are fixing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that with Adam. I told him everything he had. 2 days before he died, we were sitting on the porch, we were baling hay, and so we were taking a break, and he turned to me and he said, Daddy, you know you ruined my life by sending me to YCP. Another one of those big moments. And I went into dad mode, fix it mode. Mm-hmm. I was like, what are you talking about? Your life's ruined. I said, look at everything you have. I said, you got a very nice truck that we just bought him from, he graduated. Mm-hmm. I said, you got your own lawn service. He had his own business.
Right.
I said, you're enrolled to start college in a month or so. You know, and he was going to the CLTCC in Cottonport for welding at that time. Mm-hmm. I said, there's at least 3 little girls down the road that are absolutely in love with you. I said, how is your life ruined? Mm-hmm. And he kind of smiled at me, and he started talking about something else. I never really found out. I never found out why he thought his life was ruined. The things I told him was 100% true.
Right.
But he was down in that darkness, and it bounced. It was like what I said just bounced off. All I should have done was just ask him, Adam, why do you think your life is ruined?
Right.
And just listen to him. We want to tell them, we can see it, but they're in that place that they cannot see it or feel it. And that's what the rest of us need to understand. They get in that place, into that darkness, and that it pushes out. It really does push out all those good things. Where you get in that place, you don't remember the people that love you. All those friends all you know is those thoughts of suicide just keep coming, and the bad things.
Mm-hmm.
And your mind is telling you that everybody would be better off without you. You're a burden to everyone. That they're going to really be happy that you're gone. It's going to be better for them. And I got to that place where when that darkness took me, I was okay. I was at peace with that decision.
To take your life?
To take my life. I was at total peace with it. And that's what that darkness does. It pushed Angie and the kids out of my mind, and I was at peace with it. And that's the weirdest feeling I've ever had. I was okay with it. Now, God held my hand, and He held my arm down, and I wasn't able to do what my brain was telling me to do. And now I look back and I think God was preparing me to do what we do now.
Mm-hmm.
He brought me to that place where I can understand how a person gets to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's hard if you've never been through it. It's hard to imagine, because I was one of those people that, how could Adam have took his own life? How could anybody take their own life? I couldn't understand that. I really could not understand mental health at all until we lost Adam to suicide, and then I went into that darkness. I mean, every day was a struggle. If you would have saw me, it took 2 years for me to get to that point after Adam died.
Wow.
No, I'll take that back. It was a year. But if you would be talking to me in a store or wherever, I would be smiling at you. I would be telling you everything was great. But in my mind would be screaming, why can't you see what I'm going through?
Wow. You wanted somebody to see you.
I wanted somebody to see me. But nobody was asking that. They were just, oh, he's smiling, you know, they must be over it. We had one of our priests who I loved dearly. You know, it took us probably close to a year to really start attending church a lot, like we had been and should be.
Mm-hmm. Were you mad at God initially, you think?
I got mad at God for about 15 minutes. Angie never did. She never lost her faith. I lost mine for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have time to tell that whole story, but yes, I did for a little bit. That why question comes at you.
Were you mad at Adam on some level?
Yeah. Your emotions, you got so many emotions just coming. Yeah, for a second, I got mad at him. Felt relief. I found Adam, and I was like, the emotional journey you go on is just I can't even describe it. And it's not one day. It's like you battle that emotional journey every day for 8 years now. It still comes. You know, it's terrible. That's why I fight so hard to get people to come to these workshops, to be able to see the signs, to be able to ask the question, are you thinking about suicide? Are you having suicidal thoughts? And then to know what to do once that person says yes. How to help them find their reason for living.
How do we see people? Andy, you said you put on this facade, but you really wanted somebody to look down past that and really see you.
There are so many, it's little things, it's little changes. I can guarantee you I wasn't acting like myself. Or I may have said some things that didn't quite sound right to you, like, oh, don't worry about me, I got this all figured out. Or, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, don't worry about it. Just little things, or just little changes, like Adam, when he quit eating, or he'd overeat,
Mm-hmm.
or he'd sleep, or he wouldn't sleep, or even laughing. You ever heard somebody laugh too loud at a joke? Everybody laughs like this level, and then you got this person that laughs really, really loud.
Wow.
Always wanting to make people laugh. You know, you hear oh, they were the life of the party. They always made people laugh. You know, everybody was so happy around them. But is that true happiness, or they're covering it up? Adam used his pain in a letter he wrote to himself a year before he died at a leadership camp. He wrote a letter, and in that letter he said, I use my pain to help other people. He did not want anybody else to feel like he did, so he was trying to help people. Making them laugh, making them happy, made him feel a little bit better.
It kind of lessened his pain.
It lessened his pain a little bit.
Wow. We're going to take a break here, but I promise when we come back, we'll talk about the 5th annual Into the Light run that's going to be held in Marksville October 15th. Stay with us. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning we're talking to Andy Dixon. He and his wife, Angie, and their co-founders have been on a mission for the last 5 years and counting to really say it's okay not to be okay, and to talk about suicide, and most importantly, to help families and leaders in the community, people, whether they're first responders or law enforcement, understand how to deal with people who are having mental health issues. Well, they created Into the Light. It's a 5K walk run, and it is a powerful moment in time of people coming together.
It is. So before I give you the details on the walk,
Sure.
I'll tell you why the walk is so important. At our first walk, we had our volunteers overheard a young lady, 14, 15 years old, turn to her mom and say, Mom, I didn't know how to tell you this, but I've been thinking about suicide. She was able to do that because we were talking about mental health at the walk.
14 years old.
14 years old. Another guy, an older guy, I say older, he's my age, in his 50s. After the walk, he tells me, I've been battling depression, and I haven't told anybody, I haven't even told my wife. But now I'm going to go get some help. So, and I can tell you story after story after story.
Right.
People saw that it was okay not to be okay. That
it's not a sign of weakness not to be okay.
It's just something they're going through. It's not who you are. It's just something you're going through. And this man, this gentleman, he's doing great. You know, he's doing really well. But he's talking about it, and he's getting the help that he needs. He was just depressed, and he had been depressed for a while.
And let me just say this about depression, because I just had an opportunity last night, as a matter of fact, to talk to a psychiatrist of more than 3 decades. And we were talking about depression. And I said, how do you get to the root cause of why a person is depressed, especially children, because she deals with adolescents and up. And she said, you know, Carlette, the thing about depression is there is no root. She said the thing about depression is people want to make sense of it. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. So when we talk about certain communities and certain cultures that are just don't believe in medicine, don't believe that mental health exists, like suck it up, get over it. We have a long way to go if you're still feeling that way.
Absolutely. And that's why this walk is so important. It's October the 15th, which is this Saturday. Registration starts at 8 o'clock. We'll be there probably at 5 o'clock in the morning getting ready. So if they want to come out early, definitely can. Everybody is invited. To the people that's listening to the program that thinks they don't have any mental health issues in their family, they're good, suicide has never touched them, bless you. That is wonderful. But please come out, bring your families. You never know what you're going to learn. That you might be able to help somebody in the future. But you might just learn some things, like those officers at the workshop that came thinking it was just for their job.
Right, but it was for their families.
It was for their ended up being for their families. It may be your daughter or your spouse that turns to you in the middle of that walk and say, hey, I just had no idea how to tell you this, but maybe I'm thinking about suicide.
And you know what I'm finding too, Andy? I think that people are ashamed to say that life got so overwhelming and felt so heavy that I, in a moment, thought it would just be better if I wasn't here.
Yeah. So we're all strong. We don't want anybody to see that we're weak. So things happen and we deal with it. We think we got it. Then something else happens. Oh, I got this. I can do this by myself. I don't want to tell anyone. Don't want people to think I'm weak. And then that something else happens. And the next thing you know, those thoughts of suicide start coming up.
And it's really, I think, because I was dealing with a young woman that she said, I'm not crazy. Nobody will listen to me. And I said to her, I don't believe that you're crazy. And I am listening. And sometimes people just don't want you to think that they're crazy.
That's a big thing. People don't want you to think that they're crazy. You know, you say mental health, everybody thinks you're, you know, oh, that person's crazy. So, and might start treating them different. Just because a person is battling depression does not mean they're going to have thoughts of suicide.
Right.
And not all people who kill themselves take their own lives or depressed. It could be they just got overwhelmed by life circumstances really fast.
Right. In that moment.
In that moment.
And so the race is so important. And just what Andy said, that's what we did. We took our family to the race because I think it's just an opportunity, especially if you don't know or you're uncertain about whether your kids are just going through adolescence and the things that kids go through, or if they are truly depressed. And I think it's just such a great community of people and of sharing. And so talk about where the race is going to be, what time, and you know, if people want to run or if they just want to come out.
Absolutely. So it's in Morrisville at the courthouse square on the steps, the steps at the courthouse. Again, registration starts at 8. To walk is free of charge. The only charge they have is if you want to run the race, it's $25 registration fee. But other than that, it's free. We're going to have some very powerful speakers to share their testimony, and I think that'll help open some eyes. You can come out and walk. You can come out and run it. My brother told me one time he cannot walk it. He said, maybe I'll roll. And that's all. We said, well, you can definitely roll if you want. Or you can just come out. You don't have to do the walk. You can just stay at the courthouse with us. And we're going to have the popcorn and the cotton candy, the fun jump. It's not a doom and gloom. We're going to have a good time, but we're going to share a bunch of good information. We have a bunch of resources coming out from different hospitals, counselors. They're going to be setting up tables to hand out information and to be able to talk to people if they want to talk to them and get some help.
Right. And I think it's, for me, going out to the race, it's a non-threatening place to go out there and just hear. And when you hear others that have the courage to say, this is what happened to me, this is where I was, but I'm here today. I was able to get beyond it. And if you want to be that person that can truly say, it's okay that I'm not okay. And in today's culture, nobody wants to say, I'm not okay. You ask somebody how they're doing, I'm okay.
That's it. So when you ask somebody that, do you even stop walking?
Right.
You ask them, hey, how you doing today? But you keep walking. So you never really get that answer. And they'll just say, well, I'm okay. And
you know what? Sometimes we don't want the answer.
That's right.
Just like we don't want to hear our kids. Right. I don't want to know that you're not okay. Because if you're not okay, I might have to stop. And I might have to really engage if you tell me you're not okay. Yeah. And so, please, if you can't go, send a donation. Because Andy and Angie and their co-founders would never ask, but I am, because I know the work that they're doing. They're not asking for any money. And this is a service This is about servanthood, and they are serving the community to make sure that Adam's life is not in vain, and that the next family doesn't have to go through the gruesome pain of losing a child. And none of us wants to know.
That's it.
None of us wants to know. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry even today. We if we're not on that end, Andy, we can't even possibly fathom what that looks and feels like. Not just for that first year, but for every year that your family is missing what Adam's life would have been.
Yes.
What it could have been.
Yeah. Would he be married now? Would he start having babies? All those kids that was his age,
right?
They're having babies now. They're being married. Yes, absolutely. That's why, coming out to this walk, everybody says, if you need me, I'll be there. Reach out. Why didn't this person reach out? Why didn't this person say something? They cannot. That darkness has convinced them that no, don't tell anybody. You cannot talk to anybody. Somebody at the workshop said this analogy. When you were a kid, they had the monster in the closet, right? And what did that monster need to be powerful? It needed darkness.
Yep.
And it needed fear.
Ooh.
It needed the darkness and the fear. When you open the closet door, if you were brave enough to open that closet door and let the light in, then the darkness disappeared and the monster disappeared. So that our walk is called Into the Light. We're trying to help those people find that courage to reach out. And the people that could be helpers. That's the most important part. The people that think they don't need it. That, that's never going to happen to me or my family. Those are the people we're trying to reach. That it can happen. Come learn how to open that closet door and shed some light and get rid of the monster. Talking about mental health will help you to get rid of that monster.
It helps you to come into the light, come out of the darkness and out of fear into the light. October 15th. Before we've got to go, give your website where people can connect.
SaveSenlaw.com. That's SaveCenla. Senlaw, Central Louisiana. SaveSenlaw.com. And for assist, you click on the assist button and register for a workshop, or you can go down to our donate button on the website. We're having a little trouble with it of all times in the,
of course.
In the year. But
stay with it. And if you can't click on the button, then give them a call.
Absolutely.
Andy, thank you, and Angie and your co-founders for being the light. Being the light.
It's not really us, it's all God. But
indeed,
yes,
indeed. Hey, everybody, stay with us. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. We'd like to thank you for maybe spending the very first part of your morning with us. We'd also like to invite you to join us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also go to our YouTube channel. When you get there, if you do like the content, don't hesitate to click the like button and share with your tribe. If you like podcasts, you can download our podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We just want every single person listening and watching to know it is okay not to be okay. And suicide is a word that we don't like to talk about, but suicide is preventable when we have the tools. The reason why we do it every single morning is simple. We love you. God loves us all. Even more than that, don't forget, love yourself. Mahatma Gandhi said it, and I say it every single morning. We can all find some small way to be the change that we want to see. It does start with you and with me. For the entire crew and team of On Point Media, stay safe, stay well, and make sure that your face is at the race this Saturday. God willing, we'll see you right back here next time.